6 months after Gino's movements in Iran, and now we see children who have been participating in the movement, most teenagers, but some younger children as well. Now some of them have been arrested, and now they have criminal records. So some cases that we heard that they banned to go back to school and continue their education. There are still children in prison as well. And we also heard some horrific news that some clergies, members of IRGC, members of parliamentary Basiji and security forces go to some schools and show some pornographic videos to children, including violence, rape and sexual intercourse, and told those children that these are what who have been involved in Gino's movement and protests want as a freedom. And also it's about more than 3 months, and in some reports we know this is maybe started sooner, that schools, most targeted school girls, attacked by chemical weapon, if we can call that. We also see the pattern of denial, minimalizing the attack and the issue, and also accusing others, enemies, and also children and teachers. Some government's members told that children themselves poisoning others, or they want to close the schools. And also brutally suppression in any gathering, especially teachers and parents, and also the lack of transparency and lack of independent investigation. And after more than 3 months, nobody knows what exactly happened, and it's expanded to more than 30 or 40 schools, hundreds of children poisoned, and some effects still with them. So we knew that children already psychologically and physically attacked by the Gino's movements, that more than 70 children have been killed. Many have been kidnapped or arrested and tortured or psychologically abused because of their being in detentions. They heard and watched some sort of violations. Also, they hear about these news. All these human rights and children's rights violations happened by the state, who has responsibility for making places safe for children and keep them free from any sort of violations. These children re-traumatizing and face post-stress disorder, PTSD, and psychologically or physically attacked, different forms of violations, sexually or chemically. So these are situations that they face after 6 months from the starting the movements, but I will later try to explain it, how they involved in the protest and what engaged them to be part of these movements. Just a point of view, that's how what these children are experiencing right now, and how these trauma affect them in different ways, and still continues. They try to attack them in different form of violation. To answer this question, I try to, in my point of view, a better perspective of and see different children from different groups, the engagement and different reason to be involved. First, in this age period, usually from 12, because of the child's cognitive, behavioral, and social development, they around the world starting talking about their rights and needs, they sharing their thoughts. They're arguing with adults and trying not to accept the orders just because it's order. And also, we are in an area that's in a time period that internet play significant role, and in our country it plays as well. So some children have access to internet, so they are learning from their peers around the world, get involved in some campaigns. They had a chance not only in Gino's movements, but before that they practiced to use these tools, different applications, to gathering together and do something, participating in some sort of discussions and making decisions. And also they learned from their rights, they learned how they can do something for themselves. So these are just something that get benefit from the internet. But also parents of the new generations, my age, a little bit older or younger, they get more education about parenting, about the different styles of parenting, about children's rights, human rights. And in these years, many things change, and there are a lot of new information that my generation gets, and use it for to educate their children and parenting for their children as well. And they also, all of them, of course, but in my understanding, some of them try to avoid using the same style of their own parents, the grandparents of this new generation. It means they use the permissive style of parenting instead of authoritarian. It means they not using the dictatorship and just order children to do something and do the punishments for their behavior, but give them more choice to talk, to be part of the making decisions, and to be more active at home or any other places. There is also teachers that may have a role in this situation. It means they also learn something, especially from the social medias and online classes that they took in different languages, and learn different style of running classes instead of just in a hierarchy way, but in a more democratic ways. And give more space to children to participate, to argue, and to talk about their thoughts. Teachers also, in different forms, teach their children, sometimes indirect way, when they protesting, and individually or through the teachers' union. So their students learn from their activities, and not only what's it rights, but mother tongue language or their free education or other things of social justice, but also learn how to gathering and participate and protesting for their rights. But I want to focus on the last part, because for me it's really important after listening to how people in minority group and ethnic minorities play a role in Gina's movement. Children of those minorities have different experience and different engagement to be involved in this protest. I want to go back to in the role of internet. Not all children have access to internet. The pandemic during the COVID-19 shows us more injustice and more lack of access to services and to some tools. Some children committed suicide because they didn't have internet, they didn't have tools to be in online classes. That was the only option for them for a long time. But we heard a lot from those provinces, or for those cities or areas that have this experience before in Gina's movement. They were involved. So for me, it wasn't the role of internet. I still get some credit to that, but it was their experience, so how they was discriminated, and intersectional discrimination as well. The girls in those provinces and the children in general witness being second or third class in their own country, in their own community. So not only about their women, but also their whole community, how those those children suffer from those experiences. But they also learn from their community as well. The community, for a long time, they were fighting for their rights. The Arab community, Turkmens, Turk, Kurd, Baluch, they fighting not only from the beginning of this revolution. In the past, also they had a history of fighting and protesting and advocating for their rights. So those children learning from their fathers, mothers, and grandparents, and they were involved as well. So I just quickly wrap up and say that for this reason, children was involved in this protest. And they have a right to protest. They have a right to tell the world about the situation. And the suppressing of the protest, in my understanding and belief, it doesn't stop them to fight. But as I mentioned before, they suffer a lot, and they are still children and vulnerable for the effect of the suppression and children's rights violation. You was a organization community, international organization community, or the local communities. You may have some best practices of child participation, children involvement in her voice, their voice being heard. You may share it and help our children and ourselves to give more space to our children as well. And you also have your governments, some of them dealing with our regime, and some of them are echoing their propaganda. We want you to stand beside our children and our people as well. Thank you.